Motortrend recently drove a Tri-Motor Cybertruck, a Hummer EV truck, and a Rivian R1T and published a side-by-side comparison of these trucks, including a very controversial ranking of their favorite and least favorite among these three trucks. Stick around as I share Motortrend's reaction to these trucks, a side-by-side spec comparison, as well as my reaction to how Motortrend ranked these trucks. I'm John, and this is Cleanerwatt. Between the three trucks that Motortrend tested, the Cybertruck by far is the flashiest and gathers the most attention. I was recently able to see a Cybertruck in person, and when the Cybertruck is driving down the road, it really looks like no other vehicle on the road and it catches your attention. So it's very flashy and it catches your attention and it's unlike anything else. But is the Cybertruck better than the Rivian R1T or the massive Hummer truck, or is it just appearances? Well, I will share my opinion on this later on in the video, but before that, I want to share Motortrend's comparison and controversial ranking of these trucks, as well as a side-by-side detailed spec comparison. Now, first of all, when it comes to the exact spec of the trucks that Motortrend tested, the Cybertruck was the Tri-Motor version that they borrowed from out-of-spec reviews. Secondly, Motortrend tested the 1,000 horsepower Hummer EV 3X truck, and for the Rivian truck, it was the quad motor 835 horsepower version of the R1T. With that being said, moving to Motortrend's reaction of the Cybertruck, it looks like the team was happy enough with the steer-by-wire system when it comes to driving around town, but they weren't so happy with how the system worked when it came to parking lots. In this article, it was written, quote, "Around town, we found the steering worked intuitively in all but low-speed parking lot turns, where the quickening of the ratio plus the lack of visibility to the sides meant we struggled to avoid clipping corners." When it comes to higher speeds, it looks like the Motortrend team, however, was happy with the steering ratio of the truck. But this article does include a big gripe about the Cybertruck at higher speeds, and in this article, it was written, quote, "Ramp up the speed, though, and the beast falls apart. The grip disappears as if someone threw a switch. The steering loses its predictability in tight corners. The regenerative braking is good, but the friction brakes are terrible, with a long travel pedal that feels like it'll never grab the discs." Now, interestingly enough, when I talked to Gregor Truck about his Cybertruck and experience with the truck, one of the things that he specifically pointed out was that on the topic of highway driving, the Cybertruck feels super solid, and I'm not sure how fast the Motortrend team was going, and maybe for really performance driving, the Cybertruck feels a little uneasy. I don't know. I'm not sure, once again, how fast they were going. But once again, for normal highway driving, the steering of the Cybertruck should be very good, and the truck, as was reported once again by Gregor Truck, should feel super solid. With that being said, this Motortrend article continued on about the Cybertruck, quote, "While we made excellent progress in the Cyberbeast, achieving a pace we never expect from a pickup truck, we still felt like we could never get into a rhythm." For comparison, when it comes to the Rivian R1T, the author of this article wrote, quote, "The Rivian is the hypercar of this group. We made stunningly quick progress through Decker Canyon, rocketing from corner to corner and mastering each turn in a way that we never imagined a pickup truck could. The steering has great feel, precision, and predictability. The chassis has the poise and control of a ballet dancer." Apparently the brakes on the Rivian R1T are really good as well, and the author wrote here, quote, "The Rivian is the best handling truck here by such a large margin, it's barely a competition." When it comes to the Hummer EV truck, in contrast, that was the worst handling truck of the bunch. But this is somewhat to be expected because the Hummer EV is a massively heavy truck, weighing in over 9,000 pounds. So you would expect that the handling would be quite different for a vehicle that weighs somewhere around 9,000 pounds. That's a very, very heavy truck. But despite the Hummer EV truck not handling very well, it looks like it was still something that was fun to drive for the team, and the author wrote, quote, "Still one word kept popping up in everyone's notes, fun. We bumbled our way through Decker Canyon with huge grins plastered to our faces, a couple of us even laughing out loud as we careened around the corners." Now, beyond those reactions, this Motortrend article also had a great chart at the end of the article with a side-by-side comparison of these trucks when it comes to various specs, and I want to cover a number of those specs in a side-by-side comparison of these trucks, starting with a cost comparison. So once again, the Cybertruck that was tested was a Tri-Motor Cybertruck, and the Foundation Series truck, before you add extra fees, etc., starts at $119,990. The Hummer EV 3X truck had an MSRP as tested of around $118,480, and the least expensive of the bunch was the Rivian R1T, which had an as tested MSRP of around $93,000. When it comes to a range and efficiency comparison based on EPA data, the Cybertruck Tri-Motor version of the truck does have the smallest battery of the three trucks, and when it comes to how many watt hours are needed per mile to travel each mile, the Cybertruck is the most efficient of the bunch according to EPA data. On the flip side, as would be expected, the GMC Hummer truck is the least efficient, requiring the most energy to go per mile. However, the Hummer does have the longest range of all the trucks with its nearly 200 kilowatt hour battery. However, beyond the EPA range estimates, this article also included range estimates from the Motortrend road trip, and they listed the Cybertruck at 229 miles of range based on that road trip, the GMC Hummer 310 miles of range, and the quad motor Rivian R1T 237 miles of range. With that being said, when you look at the difference between the EPA rating and the Motortrend road trip results, it looks like the Hummer EV truck will actually get a range closer to its EPA rated range, and according to this result here, it got a range around 19% less with Motortrend's tests than the EPA rating, as compared to 22% less with the Rivian R1T and 24% less with the Tesla Cybertruck. But nonetheless, remember that the Cybertruck does have the smallest battery pack of the bunch, so even with these real-world results, the Cybertruck is more efficient. When it comes to a performance comparison, by far the Tri-Motor Cybertruck is the quickest of the bunch, and while the Hummer EV might have more horsepower, the truck weighs so much, so the Cybertruck with less horsepower is able to be much quicker than the Hummer EV, and it's quicker than the Rivian R1T as well. As you can see, Motortrend has listed the Cybertruck's 0 to 60 mile per hour time at just 2.5 seconds, as compared to 3.1 seconds for the Rivian R1T and the Hummer EV truck. And those 3.1 second 0 to 60s for those other two trucks, that is quick still for a truck, but once again, the Cybertruck is much quicker. The Cybertruck was also able to complete a quarter mile around 0.6 seconds faster than the Rivian R1T and the Hummer EV truck as well. Nonetheless, when it comes to braking performance, however, the Rivian R1T was able to stop in the shortest distance from 60 to 0 miles per hour, stopping in just 117 feet as compared to 126 feet with the Cybertruck and 137 feet with the Hummer EV truck. When it comes to an exterior dimension comparison, the Cybertruck is longer than the other trucks, but the Hummer EV is a little bit wider and a little bit taller at its maximum setting. But the Cybertruck does have a bigger wheelbase, a very slightly higher max ground clearance than the Hummer EV truck. But when it comes to off-road capabilities and the approach and departure angle, the Hummer EV truck does win in that category. But nonetheless, when it comes to curb weight, the Hummer EV truck, this particular version, had a curb weight of over 9,000 pounds as compared to the Rivian R1T and the Cybertruck, which both have curb weights under 7,000 pounds. Now, it's hard to talk about a pickup truck without talking about the cargo capacity of the rear bed and, of course, with electric trucks, of the front trunk. And when it comes to the size of the rear bed of the truck, the Cybertruck clearly has the longest bed, over 6 feet long, as compared to the Rivian R1T and the Hummer EV truck, which have pretty short beds overall. When it comes to total cargo space of these trucks, although the Rivian R1T does have a much larger front trunk and an extra amount of storage in that gear tunnel, the Cybertruck overall does have a little bit more cargo space than the Rivian R1T, slightly edging it out. And this is much in part due to the fact that, once again, that rear bed is larger than the Rivian R1T and, of course, also larger than the Hummer EV truck. And that rear bed of the Cybertruck offers 56.2 cubic feet of cargo space. And when you include the underbed storage on the Cybertruck, the front trunk storage, and you add that all together, that equates to around 66.7 cubic feet of cargo space. Of course, this is not including in-cabin storage space for these vehicles, but nonetheless, when it comes to those spaces, the Cybertruck is the clear winner when it comes to cargo space. Another important comparison, especially when it comes to passenger comfort, is the interior dimensions of the trucks. All three trucks do seat 5 passengers. And when it comes to front headroom, the Hummer EV truck has the most room, but when it comes to rear headroom, the Cybertruck has more than the other two trucks. Once again, when it comes to legroom, in the front seat, the Hummer EV truck offers more room, but when it comes to rear legroom, the Cybertruck offers more room. However, when it comes to shoulder room for both the front and rear passengers, the Hummer EV truck does have the most room in that category. With that being said, when it comes to Motortrend's ranking of these trucks, they actually controversially gave this Cybertruck third place out of these 3 trucks. So they gave it last place out of these 3 trucks when it comes to their ranking. As an explanation in this article, it was written, quote, "After much back and forth, we put the Tesla Cybertruck in third place. Its polarizing styling makes it seem like a one-trick pony, which is a shame because it really isn't. The technology here has some great potential, particularly the steer-by-wire system, which is quite artfully done but needs further development. The Tesla's range is the shortest here, and its unimpressive turning circle means it doesn't put its four-wheel steering to good use the way the Hummer does." When it comes to the pros and cons for the Cybertruck for their third place finish, for pros, Motortrend listed insanely quick, steer-by-wire has great potential, and also useful sized bed. For the cons, they listed lousy visibility, stainless steel is a nightmare to keep clean, and feels underdeveloped and unfinished. When it comes to the second place spot, they gave that to the Hummer EV, and for pros, they listed huge fun to drive, at least until someone gets hurt, outstanding Super Cruise system, and convertible top. For cons, they listed oversized, overweight, and inefficient, small bed and limited hauling towing ability. Some interior materials don't match the price point. And then in first place, they listed the Rivian R1T, and for pros, they listed mind-bendingly good handling, great for hauling and towing. Relatively speaking, it's a bargain. For cons, they listed small bed, single screen interface can be tricky to use, ride can get rough depending on tire choice. Now, I would love to know what you think about Motortrend's ranking of these trucks, and let me know in the comments section below what you think about Motortrend's ranking and how you would rank these trucks. But when it comes to my personal opinion, I would have given third place to the Hummer EV truck because while I would like to drive it once to test drive it, because it sounds like it could be kind of fun to test drive once or twice, the truck is just too big, too heavy, and too inefficient for me. In my opinion, the Hummer EV truck is much more of a novelty and not something that I would want to live with for a long period of time. When it comes to a comparison between the Cybertruck and the Rivian R1T and placing one in the first place spot and placing the other in the second place spot, it's actually not really easy to do that because there are very many aspects about the Rivian R1T that I really love. I do really like the truck style. I like the gear tunnel. I like the really large front trunk. And just overall, the truck performs very well in tests that I've seen. But overall, I would go ahead and put the Rivian R1T at space number 2 and the Cybertruck at space number 1. And really it comes down to several things. One, the four-wheel steering of the Cybertruck will improve, and the Motortrend article mentioned that Tesla had not fully taken advantage of four-wheel steering, but that will improve. Secondly, Tesla's software when it comes to their infotainment system and when it comes to their full self-driving features, once they enable that for the Cybertruck, they are the best in the industry. And I want a truck that has those kind of features built in. In addition, the Cybertruck has the largest rear bed, and that locking tonneau cover storage is just really amazing. So overall, I believe the Cybertruck is the best truck of the bunch, but the Rivian R1T is a great truck as well, and it's actually, in this particular instance, cheaper than the Cybertruck by a decent amount. So if I was going based on cost alone, I might still go with my second place choice and buy a Rivian R1T to save a little bit of money. But overall, I do believe that the Cybertruck deserves the first place spot, and it will get better with time as Tesla refines the software and releases more features. Once again, do let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also like to say once again, thank you to all of those of you who support me through Patreon. Your support makes a big difference and does help make these videos possible. If you'd like to find out more about how you can support my work through Patreon, I will put a link in the video description. Thank you so much.